Okay, well, thanks for joining us at CGC Webinar Wednesday. Today we're lucky to have Mr. Lance Ringler from Golfweek magazine joining us. Lance operates, he writes for Golfweek obviously, and he also operates the Junior Golf Rankings at Golfweek. So welcome, Lance, to the show.
Thanks for having me, Nick.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. So obviously there's a lot of questions about junior golf, and there's a lot of things we try to help educate parents and players on about just about college golf or junior golf in general, and obviously the rankings have a lot to do with that. But real quick, if we could just ask you about yourself real quick. Now, you used to coach at one time. How long did you coach, and how long have you been with Golfweek?
Well, I coached college golf for about 3 years. I've been around the college game since probably about the early 90s. Caddied on the PGA Tour for a little while. Like I said, coached college golf, worked for the AJGA, and then now I've been with Golfweek for about 15 years now. So I've been around junior and college golf for the better part since 1990.
Wow. Well, if anybody's seen it all, it's probably you and maybe a handful of other people. But now I know that you travel quite a bit a year. How many days a year do you think you're on the road?
I've never really figured out how many days it is. I don't know. It's a lot during the late spring and into the college championship season, and then during the summer there's probably a couple times a month I'm going to tournaments, and then in the fall it's almost all fall I'm going at events. So I don't know. I don't know. I've never really figured out the days. I don't know if I want to.
Too many to count.
Yeah.
Yeah, too many to count. Awesome. Well, if you could just tell us a little bit about the Golfweek rankings and how Golfweek uses them, and then maybe walk us through what are the requirements for junior golfers to be involved in the rankings.
Yeah, the Golfweek Staggered Junior Rankings is it's basically a system that uses a select tournament around the country throughout the year. It's a 52-week window, and it requires you to play in 5 events during that 52-week window. It's basically a rolling window in order to actually be ranked in the top tier of kids. What we tried to do is identify the events that are the most meaningful. And when I say that, I mean events that have the better players, or at least the better players regionally that have the intention of playing at the next level. Obviously, one could say, well, why not just rank them all? And the answer to that is manpower. We just don't have the manpower to actually rank every event. Now, the National Junior Golf Scoreboard does put out a ranking, and they rank, I think, just about anything you can get them, and they do have just about every event that's out there in their system. Their system's different. And then there's obviously the AJGA Polo ranking. So there's basically 3 rankings in golf. Ours is, we've been doing this for 15 years. It's basically, we've identified, I think it's a little over 300 events a year. It's all the major tours, and then select big events from other smaller tours, and then all your bigger independent events. And we just try to like I said, that might change from year to year, but we try to make sure we're getting there's a really good event in a section of the country. We try to make sure we get it in. And that's basically how it works as far as what events we use.
Okay. Wow. So 300 events a year. That's quite a bit. So a kid needs to play in 5 Golfweek ranked events to stay involved in the Golfweek rankings. So I mean that obviously helps. So with that in mind, what do you think are maybe is one of the biggest, or maybe a couple of the biggest misconceptions about Golfweek rankings?
Well, one of the biggest things is about rankings is people tend to think that you have to play against the best players in order to actually garner or receive a good ranking, and that's not necessarily true. You have to play. When you do play, you have to play well. And that's basically the bottom line. No matter when you play, if you play poorly, it's going to hurt you, and if you play well, it's going to help you. So I'd say one of the biggest, that's probably one of the biggest things, is people just trying to make sure they play in really good events, when really the fact of the matter is, if you play well, that's going to do you a lot more good. Not to mention the fact that college coaches, sure, you could play AJGA events, or you could play FCWT or whatever it may be, and you may have a really good finish and finish 8th or 10th or 12th or 14th, whatever. But a kid that goes out and plays in a more regional event locally within their states or whatever, and if they win a lot, that's very appealing to a lot of players. Learning how to win, no matter who the competition is, there's a certain amount of learning that goes in there, and that's something that attracts college coaches. So I think people get caught up too much sometimes in the quality event rather than just taking advantage of the opportunity to compete and play well. And I would say that's probably the biggest thing, people just trying to figure out what to play and where to play. And my answer to that is, play where you can, what you can afford, but just make sure when you play, you're ready to play, and how you play is going to be what determines your ranking.
Sure. Well, that's great advice. That was going to lead me into my next question in terms of best advice you can offer juniors about Golfweek rankings. So we'll take that up about just be selective about it and obviously try to play well when you're in it. And so with that said, do you feel like there's I'm sure there's times where there's good players around the country that are not necessarily in Golfweek rankings just because of maybe a regional challenge or something like that. They can't get to enough ranked events throughout the year. Would that be the case?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's always going to be players that, might not focus on golf, that might be pretty good golfers. They may play volleyball, basketball, baseball, whatever it may be, and they may be a Division I level player or, even, a college level player of some sort, but just don't participate, don't, chase the junior golf circuit regionally or even nationally. So, yeah, that happens. And the thing, the thing there is, it's just a matter of just, if you're playing well somewhere, most likely a coach is going to find you. Obviously, the goal is to, if you get ranked and get yourself into a certain position within your state or whatever it may be, you're going to get noticed. But yeah, there's certainly players out there that go unranked. But you know as well as I do, Nick, that most of the players who have gotten to this level in junior golf, they pretty much focus completely on it. And you don't find a lot of those kids, but there are some.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of with that, you mentioned one thing earlier about learning how to win and learning how to compete. That's part of the reason why playing in Golfweek ranked events is so important. Is there any other just ones that maybe people don't think about the importance of playing in Golfweek ranked events?
Well, I mean, it's a system that is familiar to the college coaches in the college arena because we've been using the same system for professional golf, college golf, junior golf for 15 years. So they understand it. They know how it works. They've followed it over the years. So, obviously if you're getting yourself into a situation where you're ranked in the Golfweek rankings, they're going to know what that means. And they have, each coach has probably their levels of kids, that, wherever they may be in the rankings, that they know who they can target. So, of course, there's advantages to that, yeah.
Great. And then, another question that kind of came up, you brought up, you guys do 300 events a year in terms of Golfweek ranked events. You're challenged with manpower, obviously. And so I guess my two questions would be, what's a typical timeline for ranking updates? Do you do it every other week? Do you do it twice a month, once a week? And then with that said, has the formula changed in the past?
Yeah, no, the ratings itself has not changed. There's nothing that's been changed about the way the system is done. It's just a matter. It's all based on who you beat, who you lose to, and then the stroke differential is what's important. Slope, course rating, scoring average, none of that matters because the course is different every time. The weather, the tournaments, they're all different. So the only thing that the rating, to get a rating which will produce a ranking, is they're just looking at who you beat and who you lose to and the stroke differences. And like I said, no, the rating has not changed. I can't remember the first part of that question now.
Just a timeline. Obviously, there's 300 events throughout the year, and you guys are taxed manpower. How often do you think they get updated?
Well, in the peak of the season, we usually update the rankings. We try to update them every week through from April through September. Maybe when it's a little bit slower, it'll be more biweekly, like twice a month or so. And then if there's not, like this time of year, it just depends on, when there's a lot of events. But we try to update them every 2 weeks at least.
Right. Okay. And, the high school season's coming up here, obviously pretty quick for a lot of high school players. I'm assuming, is there any high school events that you guys rank or no? Maybe that's a silly question.
No, I mean, no, because high school golf's a lot different. I mean, there's a lot of, there's team events, and we don't really. I think there may be one scholastic event in California, but it's played a little bit unique. But for the most part, it might have teams from around the country. But I don't think there's really any high school events that, we focus more on the tours and all the bigger events throughout the year.
Yeah, so different formats and different yardages, and obviously a lot more high school events. So that makes sense. Well, Lance, I sure appreciate your time. I don't want to take a lot more of it. Maybe just from your experience with Golfweek and in the college golf industry, and obviously being a coach yourself, what's maybe the best advice you can offer junior golfers? Maybe some advice that you received when you were a player, or advice you've heard other people give to juniors, just about junior golf in general.
Well, the big thing is if the goal is to play at the next level, you have to understand the commitment it takes to get there. And a lot of people, they don't, they talk about it, but they don't necessarily want to put in the time or put in the effort to get better. And then that being said, you have to understand and know how to actually get better. I would suggest anyone that actually has that desire and may show some sort of hope or have been told they may be good enough, they should really get to a college event nearby. I mean, there's hundreds of college events of all levels throughout the country in the fall and spring, and go and watch these kids and watch how they hit the ball and watch what they do. But, that's probably the biggest thing, is just understanding. And it's like that in a lot of sports, just understanding the commitment that it takes to get to that next level and to be that good. I mean, they're pretty good players in the college game, and just understanding how what it takes to get there, and then how to do it are probably the big things. And I don't think enough people. There's probably, this would be an interesting study, Nick. Kids that show up their first day to play college golf, I wonder how many of those kids have ever even been to a college golf tournament prior to that, to see what it's like. I would bet there's a big percentage of kids that have never even seen what goes on and what they do and how those kids play and whatnot. So I would suggest doing something like that just to familiarize yourself with what it takes a little bit and how it looks.
Interesting. Well, that's a great piece of advice for junior golfers in terms of obviously the commitment and what it takes to get there, but also more importantly what it looks like when you're there possibly, and you can get a little bit of a glimpse from that by going to like you said, a college golf tournament and the opportunity to see how they prepare and how they carry themselves and whatnot. Well,
right.
I sure appreciate your time. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say we all know what a college basketball game or football game looks like because it's on TV all the time. But, a lot of people don't realize, what that lower tier Division I event looks like and who the kids are and where they're from. And a lot of times you'll find out that those players were really good in their area or their local region, or even a lot of them are from different countries. And so just understanding who the competition is and knowing all that, a lot of people get, turn your head a little bit when you see just how good and the work that these kids put in.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent advice, Lance. I sure appreciate your time and you joining us for this interview and helping us to educate junior golfers and parents and whatnot on the challenges of obviously being a junior golfer, from instruction to rankings to time management and everything else that goes involved with it. So, well, travel safe this spring, my friend, and again, appreciate you joining us and have a great day.
All right, thanks a lot. You have a good one.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Lance. Bye.
Bye.